Hey everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to today's video where we will be previewing and predicting every single game for the Premier League match week 6. And trust me, there are some huge games this Premier League match week. And as usual guys, if you are not subscribed to this channel and you like regular football content, then please do consider subscribing, as it really would mean a lot to me. And we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers and that would be so awesome to hit. So please make sure that you go ahead and do that. But you know what? Enough about me. Let's get into the video. The first game of this Premier League match week will be between Aston Villa and Leeds United. What a treat. This is going to be such an exciting game to watch, guys, and I think it is going to be extremely close as well. But as you guys can see, I do think Aston Villa will just scrape a win in this game. But looking at Leeds United, I think they have been so impressive this season, and I think they have really surprised a lot of us going into this Premier League season. Attacking wise, they have been phenomenal. Defensively, they have definitely improved as the season has gone on. And Meslier between the goalkeeper posts. I mean, he is keeping a Real Madrid keeper on the bench. He is just 20 years old and he is looking so promising. I mean, I'm 19 years old. Maybe I still have a chance of becoming a Premier League goalkeeper. What am I kidding? I can't even reach the top shelf. But although Leeds United have looked so good this season, I am slightly worried about them after that Wolves game, because as the game went on, they really did lose their momentum, and defensively they're all bunched up and cluttered in one area. They're bunched up in one area of the defensive zone, which could be a huge problem versus a team like Aston Villa that really attack from all directions, especially Ollie Watkins in the striker position. He has the ability to win the ball in the midfield, and because of his pace, he can run on either side of the wings. And Jack Grealish on the wing, probably going to be my player to watch in this fixture, because his individual highlights versus Leicester City were magnificent, and he's probably one of the most naturally gifted players on the ball I've seen for a very long time. And Ross Barkley in the midfield position, I've said it before, probably one of the best transfer deals that was done in the transfer window, because his midfield work is amazing. He's incredible in the midfield, and what can I say? He shoots, he scores. West Ham United versus Manchester City is next, and we cannot underestimate West Ham's ability in this fixture, as they have been on fire as of late. Okay, that's enough. Put it out. Because looking at West Ham United's last few games, a 4-0 win versus Wolves, a 3-0 win versus Leicester City, and a 3-3 draw versus Tottenham Hotspurs, where they came back in the last 10 minutes of the game to grab a point. And the last 10 minutes of that game, in my opinion, probably the most exciting 10 minutes of football I've watched in a very long time, especially looking at West Ham United's squad. They look strong. Antonio looks brilliant in the striker position, and now they've got Ben Rama from Brentford, who looks like a really good striker. Bowen has been consistent in the wing position, Lanzini a Hammers hero, and Declan Rice is looking like a really class box-to-box midfielder. And looking at Cresswell in the left-back position, his vision is amazing, his passes are amazing, and has probably been the best left-back in the Premier League so far in my opinion. Okay, Liverpool fans, calm down. But unfortunately for me, the only problem I have with West Ham is the fact that defensively, their defensive line comes up way too high on the pitch, and they aren't the fastest. And if there's one thing Manchester City have, it is pace, and I think they'll be able to get around or go straight through West Ham's defense, especially now that Sergio Aguero is back. They have more of that attacking threat, because in the last 4 Premier League games, Manchester City have only scored more than once in one of their last 4 Premier League games. But with Sergio Aguero back, I do think that they will do a lot better, and Edison has improved in goal. And in terms of a player to watch, I do think it will be Raheem Sterling. This is recorded before their Champions League game, but Raheem Sterling, I didn't think that he'll be a good number 9 for Man City, but he has scored 4 goals in his last 3 games for Man City. Fulham versus Crystal Palace is next. Now, neither of these teams did well at all in the Premier League match week 5. But as you guys can see, I do think Crystal Palace will leave this fixture with all 3 points. Because looking at Fulham, they have not won a single game yet in the Premier League. And looking at them versus Sheffield United, they were horrific. I mean, Sheffield United were the better team by a country mile. And Mitrovic, their striker, their main man, he is supposed to be the best player on the pitch for them, had a horrific game. And to be honest, I haven't seen him perform well in many games so far this Premier League season. So I am worried for Fulham. I mean, he conceded a penalty and he missed scoring one in that game versus Sheffield United. I mean, that was bad. It's like me trying to play FIFA. Which, cheeky plug by the way guys, if you are interested in watching me play FIFA, I do have a Manchester United FIFA 21 career mode series, and if you want to watch it, click on the eye thingy up above and it'll take you to that. But back to the game, I would say for Fulham, in that specific game, the only standout player in my opinion had to be Lookman. Individually, he was great in that game, but unfortunately an individual cannot carry an entire team. And that is why I have gone for Crystal Palace, although in that game versus Brighton, they also had an horrific game. Only one shot on target in that entire game, and it was a penalty. But I have still gone for Crystal Palace because bar in the last few games, they started off the season really well attacking wise. So I'm hoping that they pick up on the beginning of the season. I'm hoping Zaha continues on his current form that he was on. And my player to watch for this fixture has to be Andros Townsend. He's gotten a goal and 2 assists this season, but it's not about that. Watching Andros Townsend, he creates beautiful chances throughout the game. And I think that he'll be a huge part to why Crystal Palace can win this fixture. The next game is going to be the big game of this Premier League match week, Manchester United versus Chelsea. It is going to be incredible. And as you guys can see, I started off with my prediction being 3-2 in Chelsea's favour. But guys, looking at both teams, I'm actually going to change it to a 3-2 in Manchester United's favour. And I'm saying this because although it's only been 2 games since the international break, United have looked so good since the international break. They dominated that game versus Newcastle United, although the goals only came later on. And in that game versus PSG, I will say it, that was United's best performance in years. They really won that midfield battle. Attacking wise, they looked so strong. Defensively, they really stuck to the game plan, and that was probably David De Gea's best ever game between the posts for United. They looked so good. But in my opinion, it all comes down to what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does versus Chelsea. If he puts Harry Maguire over to Nzebe in the centre-back position, we are in trouble. I don't hate Maguire, but I think Chelsea is way too fast to have Maguire in the squad. Kai Havertz and Timo Werner in attack is going to be way too dangerous to face. But a huge upside for United is the fact that they have Martial back from his red card, and Cavani might start. And Cavani is a world-class player, and as this is his debut, I will make him the player to watch because I'm excited to see what he can do against a team like Chelsea. And the reason I haven't given Chelsea the win is I don't know if I've been that impressed with them so far this season, to be honest with you. In the game versus Sevilla, it was a 0-0 draw. They didn't create the chances that they needed to. And I find that there is no balance in this Chelsea team. They've had 2 3-3 draws this season versus Southampton and versus West Brom. And that's because when they attack well, they still don't defend well. And you need to have that balance. And I'm still not 100% convinced with Timo Werner yet. Yes, he scored 2 goals in his previous Premier League game, but he still needs to do it on a consistent basis. Look, whatever the result of this fixture is going to be, it's going to be close. The next fixture is going to be between Liverpool and Sheffield United. Now, of course, Liverpool have some really bad news as after that Everton game, Virgil van Dijk could be out until the rest of the season, which is a huge blow for them, along with the fact that they still might not have Alisson back for the next game. That is a huge blow for Liverpool. It's like having the Avengers without Iron Man and Hulk. You're essentially just left with a man that throws a giant frisbee, someone who makes lightning go zap zap, a girl who looks kind of cute in latex, and someone who shoots arrows. Yes, the entertainment value might still be there, but it's just not the same quality. But saying that, I do still think that Liverpool probably will get a semi-comfortable win, because looking at their defence, they've still got Gomez as a centre-back, and they can still play Matip as a centre-back, and at the end of the day, Matip is a really good centre-back, so I don't think that Liverpool will have too many problems. And looking at Sheffield United though, they are still yet to get their first win in the Premier League, but I will say this, versus Fulham, although they didn't get the win, they were by far the better team. They dominated that game, but unfortunately they could not get their shots on target, and because of that, they lost. So if they can manage to get their shots on target, they will stand a real chance. But in the meantime, I think Liverpool are going to get a pretty comfortable result. And in terms of a player to watch, I could go for someone like Mane, who really has been consistent this season. But at the end of the day, it is going to be Mo Salah once again. 6 goals in 5 Premier League games, the Egyptian king. We then go from one Merseyside team to the other as Southampton play Everton in the next fixture. And I think majority of people will agree with me when I say I think Everton will pretty much dominate this game and probably get a very comfortable win. And I think a lot of that goes down to the fact that Pickford wasn't given a red card that will last him the end of his career after what he did to Virgil van Dijk. The fact that he wasn't given a card in that game was just daylight robbery. It was a crime, to be honest with you. I think Stevie Wonder would have done a better referee decision than that. But despite that, I do think Everton will look better in this game versus the Saints, because Liverpool really dominated Everton in the Merseyside derby so that Everton couldn't play their normal game. But I don't view Southampton's midfield as strong this season. I do think it is weaker than it was last season, and because of that, James Rodriguez can play higher up on the pitch and he will pose as a threat, especially because looking at Southampton, when it comes to them conceding a foul, their defensive line comes up way too high. And we've seen on multiple occasions this season, James Rodriguez from free kicks or from any set piece can really get the ball in from behind. And I think James Rodriguez probably once again will be my player to watch in this fixture, as he does have 3 goals and 3 assists in 5 games so far this season. Also looking at the fact that Calvert-Lewin will be a threat in this game. First Everton player ever in Premier League history to score in the first 5 games of the Premier League. So you know what, at the end of the day, I do think Everton, they are looking strong. They are top of the Premier League table. I think that they will get a comfortable win. And the only reason I think Southampton will score is because the fact that Ings and Shea Adams have formed a really good partnership. So attacking-wise, they could pose a threat, but I still think the Blues have this one. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Newcastle United. Now guys, I'm slightly worried about Wolves at the moment, because in my opinion, they're not looking as good this season as they have in previous Premier League seasons, and in terms of their attack, they are just missing that special ingredient, that special sauce that makes their attack so great. And whether that's because Jota has moved to Liverpool, I can't say for sure, but when they've been winning games, when Wolves have won games this season, they haven't looked that good. They've been scraping those wins in the second half of those games, but in all fairness, their redeeming factor is their defensive style of play. When they defend really well as a team, and in all fairness, that is what we know them as since they've been promoted into the Premier League 2-3 seasons ago. And at the end of the day, I do think that they probably will end up getting a win versus Newcastle United, because looking at Newcastle United, look, they started the season off fantastically in terms of attack, and Callum Wilson and St. Maximum started off really well. They looked really good, and they still do. But as the season has gone on, yes, I know we are only a handful of games in, they create less and less chances, which I think could be problematic versus the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers, because Wolves, as I said, defend really well, and if you can't create chances, you can't score. But I do still think that they will probably pose as an attacking threat in that game. But I am worried about Newcastle, because looking at that game versus United, they let the game slip the further the game went on, because they struggled to defend United's wide attacking style of play. And that is why I think Wolves will end up winning this game, because if there's one thing Wolves do use, it is their wingers. And I've noticed Newcastle United struggle against really fast wingers. That is why I think Wolves will win, and that is why I do think Podence, once again, is going to be the player to watch in this fixture, because he looks really good on the wing, he creates beautiful chances, he's really skillful on the ball, and he really does take some beautiful shots. So Newcastle United, I am sorry, but I do think Wolves will win this one. Another huge game is coming up, as we do have Arsenal versus Leicester City. Now, originally I had this as a 2-2 draw, so that both teams could get points from this. But guys, I'm actually going to give this Arsenal's way, as Leicester City might not be able to play Jamie Vardy, which is a huge loss for them. And they won't be able to play Soyuncu, their main centre-back, due to injury. And those are 2 huge losses for Leicester City. So unfortunately for them, due to that, I am going to give Arsenal a 2-1 win in this fixture, saying that I am also slightly worried about Arsenal at the moment, because in my opinion, from what I've seen from them so far this season, majority of their games, they haven't actually looked like the better team. Yes, they didn't actually do too bad versus Manchester City, but all the games prior to that, I have been slightly worried about them. Aubameyang, in my opinion, is not as visible as we would like him to see this Premier League season. He has been very quiet, and defensively there have been way too many slip-ups from Arsenal. You can obviously thank David Luiz for that, but at the same time there are way too many pockets of space for opposition to take their chances for. I do think the player to watch in this fixture is probably going to be Saka, as he has looked really good on the ball lately. He's looked really promising, and he really does take his chances. It is just a matter of converting them into goals. He's really exciting to watch, But if not Saka, it's probably going to be Barnes from Leicester City because he's looked really good in attack lately. But as I said, I'm not sure how good he's going to be without Jamie Vardy. We get to the second last prediction of this Premier League match week, which, by the way, guys, once again, if you have enjoyed and you're not subscribed, please do consider doing so because I put a lot of work into these videos and I would like to know that you guys like them. But the second last game of this Premier League match week will be between Brighton and West Brom. Now, of course, Brighton have got a loss in the centre-back position as Dunk was sent out with a red card versus Crystal Palace. And rightly so, it was a horrific tackle. Now, don't get me wrong, Dunk is an incredible centre-back. I mean, he was linked to Chelsea over the transfer window, but I don't think that will hinder Brighton's abilities too much, as they still do have Webster and Ben White in the centre-back positions, and that is still a very good centre-back partnership. And attacking-wise, I think that Brighton could look very good versus West Brom, although I will say this, versus the likes of Crystal Palace, they had 20 shots. They created a lot of chances, but only 3 on target. That is horrible. Only like 15% of their shots were on target, and they are going to have to improve on that because they have done that in quite a few games so far in the Premier League season. But I do think that they probably will get a win versus West Brom because looking at West Brom, attacking-wise, I thought they were actually pretty good versus Burnley. I thought they created a lot of chances, and I'm surprised they didn't score a goal. John Stone looks really good in the goalkeeper position. He makes some incredible saves, but the only reason he had so much work to do is because defensively, West Brom still aren't there yet. And because they're not there defensively, I do think Brighton will win because Brighton, as I said, take a lot of chances, and I think that they'll convert them versus West Brom. And my player to watch, once again, is going to be Lamptey, the young fullback for Brighton, because although he is a fullback, he really moves up the field quite well. He wins a lot of fouls. He gets a lot of crosses into the box. He looks really good and promising, and I think he'll be pretty exciting in this fixture. We get to the final game of this Premier League match week, which will be between Burnley and Tottenham Hotspurs. And as you guys can see, I do think Spurs will get away with a pretty comfortable win in this fixture. Saying that though, I thought Burnley looked really good versus West Brom in the previous match week, but I am worried as they still have 0 wins so far in the Premier League this season, which after what they did last season in the Prem, I'm expecting a mid-table finish from them this season. But you know what, guys, we are only 5 games in. We are just a handful of games in. It is very early on, and they can still really turn things around. And as I said, they look very good versus West Brom, in my opinion. Defensively, they didn't look bad. And goalkeeper-wise, Nick Pope looked like his old self between the posts, and he looked very confident. But striker-wise, I do think Woods and Barnes looked good in that game. But the fact that they couldn't get their shots on target really cost Burnley the win in that one. But despite that, I do think that Tottenham Hotspurs will win because attacking-wise, they are the best in the Premier League this season. And Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, that partnership has to be one of the best partnerships we have ever seen in the Premier League. And Heung-min Son going to be my player to watch for this fixture once again, as he's gotten 7 goals in 5 games. He is looking unstoppable, and a serious shout has to be Harry Kane, as we are only a handful of games in, and he is already chasing the Premier League assist record. And in terms of Gareth Bale in attack, yes, I know he did miss that shot versus West Ham to put Spurs in the lead, but at the same time, guys, you have to remember, he's been out for a month or 2 with injury. He is lacking match sharpness, and it is just a matter of him playing a few more games to get his momentum going. And the thing that let Spurs down in that game versus West Ham was defensively, I think they made way too many mistakes. And this sounds harsh, I've said it before, but I don't back Davinson Sanchez's abilities. He gives away way too many fouls, he's way too aggressive, and his discipline is very, very poor. But despite that, I do think Spurs will win this fixture. Alright, everyone, that is going to be it for today's video. And once again, in the comment section down below, tell me which team you support along with your prediction for your team's game. And once again, if you are not subscribed, please consider doing so, as I would love to reach 1,000 subs before the end of the year, and I'd really appreciate it if you helped me reach that milestone. Along with that, please like this video down below so that I know you've enjoyed it. But guys, this has been Finn, FYNN. I do love and appreciate every single one of you. Enjoy match week 6. Goodbye, cheers, enjoy your day.
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can